Everyone,
stirring the pot around.
But you can't, that's what I'm talking about, is you can't. Because the objects.
Like you might not know it, but it's no reality. It's obvious. Like it's obvious, like something.
Not because I was trying to have a
Started changing.
wanted to work.
Ronnie, have you met the best?
But I was like, that's never
Like, you know, you're like,
I worked mine for a while. That's why people feel taken out of the I fought it.
that's interesting.
It might have been different back then.
It probably was, and that's fair. I just assumed that. I'm like, oh, it's just this one.
I didn't know they were
you're good. Oh, yes, you are. We're gonna sit right here. So you're good. Spread out. If you want to move, feel free.
Put you in like movies and
Hey everybody, how we doing tonight?
Great.
Really good.
Thanks y'all for.
Hang on.
These samosas are on point.
Big up to Kelly Logo.
I cooked, heated them myself. I bought them myself.
So my name's Murf, in case we all don't know who I am or don't remember my names. And Kelly and I started this thing called Lineages, which is an idea to talk about the legends of New Orleans. And it was originally started to go after musical legends, and then as we began this process, it sort of evolved, and we ended up interviewing Kelly first. She's a musician. The second person we did was Bella Blue. She's a dancer. And when it came time to do the third one, Kate was the first person that came to my mind because of the idea as an artist, but also as a healer, using art to heal and using healing to make art. We had done it in a place called the Original Nightcap, and based on a great suggestion by Kelly, it was a little big and I was a little intimidated. So she suggested making it smaller. She suggested having it at one of our houses, so I said, let's have it at mine, because that's really intimidating. And I wanted to really incorporate the food into what's going on. So Kate had suggested watermelon and mint and things fresh, so that's why we had served what we did. Carmela Rapazzo was kind enough to make lemon ricotta cookies. They're like on if like cookies are drugs, they're like more in like the heroin area. So be careful. And so Kate and I are going to have a conversation about breathwork, and we're calling it a breathwork experience. Kate does a thing during the week called the Daily Breathe on Zoom. It's about an hour, and she takes a theme and she breaks it up and explores different aspects of it through, and then uses breathing and her wisdom to help people navigate the world. So this is going to be very similar, except the theme tonight will be Kate. And we're gonna just go through things in her life that help shape her, that are help shaping all of us. So thanks y'all for coming. This is wouldn't be possible without all of you, because you all are amazing creative people, and just putting us all together, who knows what can happen and how we can change the world. So we're gonna start. I'm filming it. I hope that everyone doesn't mind. If you need to get up and use the restroom, it's down there to the right. If you hear any noise in the back, that would be Rocky. He is not happy right now because he is not being included. So
Does
Kate,
he want to be up here with us?
oh, he does very much.
Too much?
I don't know what will happen with this many people, and he was kind of hungry before, so there's a lot of legs. I don't know what will happen or what may come out of it. I got some weird puppies. So Kate, you are a level 4 breathworker through the Transformation School, and you are also a Kundalini yoga teacher, as well as dabbling in arts of dance, non-verbal communication, and exploring the connection between mind, body, and spirit. And how did you get here? So you started in Juneau, Alaska, right? That's where you were raised?
Yes, I was actually born in Seattle because I was raring to go, and I was born extremely prematurely. So my mom was medevac to Seattle, and I was born there, so my birth certificate and all that stuff, all the astrological information has to be Seattle, but I was raised in Juneau. But my birth story, which is an interesting theme to like pull through my whole life, is to like get really excited, really want to be here, really like have a lot of energy, and then slam,
What is
get
going
overwhelmed. And so like working, but yeah, born in Seattle and raised in Juneau, Alaska.
So what was Juneau, Alaska like, the environment? Outside, nature, what was it like growing up in Alaska? 'Cause it's so far away from here, sometimes somewhat mystical almost.
Yeah. Well, the things that I can appreciate about where I'm from have been revealed to me only after being away for a long time. So there are things that just atmospherically, that's your life, that's what you're used to, it's what you see, it's what you do, it's what you know when you're a kid. And then you get away, and then you start to realize like, oh, there is vestiges of or imprinting of this like life, this origin space that for the first time in my adult life, I'm becoming homesick. And so I'm going like for the geography of Alaska, for my people kind of too, the fishermen, the outdoorsiness of it, which is like similar kind of in ways to fishing places here or in Maine or whatever, but has its own flavor. So I'm going back to Alaska for the first time in 13 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah, but the things that have made, if I feel about it, the things that have made the biggest impression on me are the vastness of the physical landscape. So anything man-made is dwarfed. You know, you're there with the ocean on 2 sides, glacial ice fields, mountains, forests, trees, wilderness. We grew up with bear bells on our shoes, you know, because it was the extreme, this is my language I have for it right now, which is very different than anything I would have said back then. But my regulation settings were to the massiveness of nature. And so also because I had fishermen were like my whole extended family, their dialed inness, again, not their words, but their dialed inness to nature, to the power of it, to adhering to the signs and signals of it, was like really strong. And so they were, I think, part of what being down here, like the longing for that majesty, it's like everything is upwards, it's like up into the sky, you know, and it's like that type of clarity, really, that's in the environment. And here it's like a whole other vibe that's really rich and amazing, but it's like it's like the murky down below underneath of it.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's unclear,
Yeah.
you know, where I think of like, so when I go back to Alaska, I'm looking forward to that sense of awe, because, so I did go back, I mean, I've been back a little bit here and there, and the first time I went away, so it was like 99, I left, and I was gone for a year, and I came back, and I went out on my friend Jeffrey's little dinghy to Auk Lake, and it was my first experience in memory of having my breath physically be taken away from my body. And it was, we were looking at the Mendenhall Glacier, there were fireweed, you know, the bright orange and pink, like weed, but like beautiful flowers everywhere, and we're on the water, and I was just like, it was the physical experience of having my breath taken away, and it's awe, that majesty and that beauty, and that sense of, like, there is a system of intelligence moving through this space that is untouched, rather, you know, which is different from living in a man-made environment.
And now, was that awe? Was that something that you were able to use to start exploring your creativity? Because it seemed like during high school and the beginning of your college years, you were extremely creative, trying a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah,
And you had a partner in crime.
yeah.
And who was that partner in crime?
Her name, I call her Carmel. Her name is Melissa Davis. And so the awe was the driving thing, but I had no idea. It had totally different outfit on it. You know, it was about awe, it was about feeling, it was about being drawn to the surface. But for us, we're like teenagers, right? So it was about like music and story and dance, but really at that time it was drama. So Carmel and I, we were completely obsessed with the 60s and 70s. And so in 7th grade, which I think I told you was like, maybe I'm romanticizing the situation, but I think like the best year of my life. Because we had really, really close friendships, and shit was not easy. We had siblings that were suicidal. We had addiction in our families. We had normal existential crisis that you would have at that young age. And we were headed for some dark days. We were very raw, you know, and and it was like it was coolness, but it wasn't cool as in like cool as a cucumber. It was like aliveness that we were really into. So we were like the Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and this like raw kind of feeling that we were really into. So Carmel and I started writing plays, like these little short, like just 2 or 3 act plays. And we had this drama teacher, Rosalind Brown, who like basically because we were so enthusiastic, and we actually wrote all this stuff. Like I feel like we came to our first drama class, like here's our first act, and we just need, you know, I mean we like were really into it, and so I think she respected that, and she saw our vitality, and so she gave us a lot of permission to like go work on our own stuff, which we did. We were like smoking clove cigarettes like back behind the theater department, and like, but taking it very seriously. And it felt like when we were presenting something on stage that we loved and that felt good, there was a quality to it that I don't know if it was good or not, like our stuff was good or not, you know, it was probably kind of naive and trumped up, but what I could feel was this like quality of witnessing where there was like focus, and when you meant something and you were like in it, and there was an interaction of this like, when the energy comes up and gets thick, where it's like there is a specialness present here because of the care and because of the attention, because of the gathered togetherness, and also because of the art, because of the expression. You know, and so that all happened and imprinted hugely, and then I almost totally forgot about it for like more than a decade, and then it came back around.
And you were also doing other things around then, exploring dance as well.
Oh yeah. So my Aunt Gail, like completely responsible for me being here on the planet, an amazing woman who's just like rescued me over and over again with just being so wise and compassionate and available to me as an adult who saw my personhood even when I was young. So Auntie Gail gave me the book Sweat Your Prayers by Gabrielle Roth. And I read it cover to cover, and it was like, give me chicken skin like I have right now, because I was like, she's speaking about wildness, about aliveness, and it's not, and we don't have to be, it was like, it stripped something away that was like the fantasy or the facade that was like, you don't need to be a rock star, you don't need to be like in some avenue of fame that was like, that in order to have that like really intimate, really raw type of aliveness. And so that, when I read that book, and it like, of course you can see this in retrospect, it set something in my spirit in motion that was like, and I said this to Carmel when we parted ways, one of the many times that we were together, and then we left each other and did our own things, I said, if you ever want to check on me, ask me if I'm dancing. And if I say no, we're in trouble. Because for me, and I think there's a universality to it, when I stop, when I can't, it's like an appetite for life thing. When I can't move with what's happening, I've checked out, or I'm in some other way rejecting the energy and the life in my own body. So to move it, like, felt essential, and in some ways, like, a matter of life and death. You know how things feel like life and death when you're a teenager, and you're like, you must do that, you know. And but it did feel that way to me when I read that and that I could be autonomous in my access to this. I didn't have to achieve it in some outside way. I didn't have to prove it or cultivate it or develop it or perfect anything. It was just an allowing of something that was already there. And reading Clarissa Pinkola Estes also was that way for me. And so I was gifted through Auntie Gail, and also just, sort of by divine right, these two books, Women Who Run with the Wolves and Sweat Your Prayers. And they provided for me kind of an energetic map of, you have an aliveness that is creative, that is sustaining, that is exciting, that is peaceful, and it is within you. And like that was people weren't saying that to me as a kid, or culturally to very many people as kids, growing up in the 80s and 90s. Like, you had, like, everything is with it, I mean, but I knew that those seeds were planted, at a pretty young age. So the dance, exploring, okay, I like to say I was celiac before celiac was a thing. And I was doing improvisational movement stuff before that was a thing. And so I remember, and I was pretty young, I remember putting on Enya, because there was not the internet full of music, and like improvisationally dancing in the living room of my dad's house. My dad is very cool. There's a swing and a bullseye on the ceiling, so like I had to move the swing out of the side and put my Enya on and dance. And I would talk to my dad about like why it was important, like why I loved doing it and what I was feeling about it, But those are, you don't remember what didn't leave an imprint, and those are the things I remember about wanting to explore. Not just creativity, but just aliveness. And I did not have those words at the time, but it really was that way.
Awesome. So why don't we take a pause here and do a little exercise about movement. Great. So we were talking, I don't know the name of it, but it's a little...
Oh, yeah. So, well, it's about movement, but actually it's about, so a thing in breathwork that we like to say, and we like to say, because it's true, is that how you're breathing is how you're living. So your capacity for your life. So when we're breathing full and free, people report, and also it's intuitively, you can kind of feel that this is true. People report living, like feeling more alive. And so lung capacity translates pretty easily to life capacity for energy moving in your body. So one of the things that we like to do as a breathwork warm-up is to expand the lungs capacity and give the lungs a little internal massage. So the lungs are extraordinary. They have this beautiful mucus that's regenerative on the inside of the lungs. When we stretch and expand the lungs out, it stimulates that. So the lungs become more malleable, they become more like easily fillable, which is kind of what we're after, right? To have a more full and free experience of the lungs. Anyway, so the idea is you don't have to change whatever's happening too much, but check in with the alignment of your spine. You can lift the crown of the head up subtly and gently tuck your chin in towards the throat so the upper vertebrae are aligned. And first I want to do a short breath retention, and then we'll just breathe and do it at the same time. But to get the massage for the inside of the lungs, you just take a nice smooth but full breath in through your nose, all the way up to the top. And then rock your breastbone back and forward.
Just do it for a little bit. We're going to do it for about a minute and do it however it feels comfortable.
When you're ready, sit up tall and exhale. You can already feel a little bit of stimulation of energy in the body, but this is a really gentle one. Again, inhale through the nose, nice and full. And retain the breath and rock the breastplate forward and back. Just carry on just like that. We're massaging the lungs, creating some pressure, and exhale as you're ready. And then we'll include the breath, the moving breath this time. So inhale forward, exhale back. Really try to keep the mind open, keep your awareness in the motion and sensations in your body. Anytime our mind is open and we're observing sensation, we increase neuroplasticity in our brains so that we can have more options for change available to us in our thinking. And let's do one more retention just to feel that really nice stretch of energy in the chest. Inhale through the nose. Retain the breath and continue. Sit tall, exhale. So, I can't help myself. I'm going to chime in about this. So, you can feel a little bit of activation in your body right now. That's really a wonderful thing. And it might even feel a little bit pleasurable. It might feel awkward. You might have thoughts going on about doing a dinky little exercise or whatever's going on. It's all totally fine. But the way that we're talking about building a capacity to have energy in your body, because when we are regulating our life experience by holding our breath, which guaranteed 100% of us do this, everybody does this, we manage our proximity to emotional experiences and to life experiences by holding our breath. Or breathing in a way that feels really shallow. Therefore, our threshold for feeling energy and aliveness in the body is reduced. So that can lead to stagnation physically and physiologically in the body, which can lead to discomfort, which can lead to contraction, which can lead to every way in which that affects our mental, our physical, and our emotional state of being. That type of not really breathing, that type of so. Part of what we do as breath workers is to build people's sense of being okay and having energy in their body. If you can have energy in your body, chances are that will kind of get your attention, and you might have a little bit of a fear response, because being physically activated in your body might be a sign that something is not okay. We have neurobonded having energy in our body with not being safe. And so what we lose, what we risk, and what we lose when we have a neurobond between being physically activated, like if we've had something happen and then all of a sudden in our life, and all of a sudden we have adrenaline and we have cortisol running through our system, that is activation. And it is the most noticeable kind of activation. So we get activated and then we bond that physical activation with I'm not safe, this isn't okay, this is not good situation. And so that belief is relatively unconscious. And so what we do with these, I call them dinky little exercises, they're pocket practices, right? Is we are literally and physiologically building our capacity to have energy in our body and to feel safe, which liberates us from having to turn the volume down on life or be less alive in order to feel safe. And when I say like this is a modern tragedy, it's not just modern, but we'll talk about it right now because that's where we are. That is the degree of, I want to say urgency, but like maybe take it down one notch. That's the degree of seriousness with which I feel this. Because if our sense of safety is associated with being minimally alive, then we lose our agency to express, to connect, to live in a way that is meaningful, satisfying, and actually revolutionary, like that power of being active and alive in our body, that we can conduct, that we can direct, that we can magnetize. That has to get turned down in order to feel safe. We are in big, big trouble.
So that exercise is just something that you can do to help
Yes.
build capacity.
That is my long explanation for a very short exercise. But it's like, I talk about like direct experience all the time. Like, this isn't just stuff that I like read about, that I have like this like philosophy or theories around. It's like our truly, because like my own awe and astonishment has been in the experience of it for my own self. Like, wow, to feel activated and safe at the same time feels divine. And feels that way because it is.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I feel that some of the things that really shaped who you are were some of the traveling that you did. And right after high school, you went to Turkey with your mother, and that was a up and down sort of experience.
As they are with the mom, yeah.
But that led you to spending time in Hawaii with your Aunt Kay.
Yes, a year of healing and recovery with Auntie Gail. But that, yeah.
I was gonna say, she's another person that has kind of come through your life, sort of like Carmel, that was there when you needed her, however you needed her.
Yeah.
So what was it like in Hawaii? What was some of the things that you did that helped?
Well, first of all, I got to Hawaii. I had had some extreme tragedies my senior year in high school. So I had like a really tragic and dramatic loss at a young age. Like, in multiple ways, I was really a wreck, you know? And so my mom and I took this trip to Turkey. We spent a few months there, and I love my mom. She's got me around the planet. But we had flown back separately, and I was in LAX, and I was like, I can't go home. That feels like all the shell of my like everything that has happened that's been so hard was there. But I was like fresh out of high school. And so you do what you do. You call Auntie Gail in that moment like that. And I said, I am so totally lost. I have no idea what to do. And I was 18. I didn't have like cash money, you know? So she's like, you're gonna come here. You're gonna come here. You're gonna be with me. And I got on a plane and I went to Hilo. And we walked and upholstered chairs and we did art and we hung out together. And I was like under the wing of her. She grew up talking to trees. She was a mystic before she knew anything about like that type of classification of interest or human being or whatever. She just is totally that way. So I spent that year with her, which was like incredibly necessary and really, I was ready to roll. I was ready to get off that island. After a year, I was like, I feel good. I feel, and I needed some cities, like.
And in that time, you were finishing college, and you also traveled to additional places, France being one of them. And you spent I don't know how long it was, but you really developed, it seemed like the first time you developed a community.
Oh yeah, of my own.
Yeah.
I was in France for a year, and I had made pals with some friends at a painting school, and then some of the downtown kids, not overnight. It was really hard at first, because I felt like a ghost, I had no identity, nobody knew who I was, I didn't speak French. So that first part was really like, it was kind of rough, but the fruit of it was so undeniable. So I made these friends, and I started leading an ecstatic dance group in our little school's area, and they were coming, and then a couple other people started coming, and I was like, I'm not leading this. I don't know how to do this, but I did, and it worked, and it was and I felt comfortable, and I felt like myself. And then I developed some really powerful friendships, but even more than that, I think I described it as but after I was getting ready to leave, that year was coming to an end, and I was whistling down the street, oh, bonjour, everybody had my little basket of vegetables. It felt hard won, because I had to kind of figure out who I was without all the other stuff. But that was super impactful also.
And then that led you to a pretty transformative road trip.
Yes.
Around the country. Stopped in a few places, one of them being a little place called New Orleans. What was it like stopping here the first time?
Well, it was I think actually, Bebe, we've talked about geographic romance. It's oh my God, you love are you for real? Like, you fall in love with a place. And so everything lined up. And it was like, met my first artist friend in Jackson Square. The first time I walked around in the French Quarter, still a friend of mine, and made some connections at what was called the New Orleans Art Mansion at the time. And I completely fell in love with the city. But it was a big stretch. I didn't know anybody here. I had a life back home. It was like really, really a painful, scary step to be like, I'm gonna just dive completely into, so it felt like that. I was driving through Texas. I had left New Orleans. I was kind of heartbroken to be leaving. And I was like really, really indecision. I look back on it now and I was like, yeah, easy choice, move to New Orleans. Your heart needed it. But at the time, I didn't know if I was gonna be like strong enough or brave enough to do it. And so we're driving, I had my little cactus, Norval, buckled in next to me. We're driving through Texas and we're like I get to, and I love this story. I get to really too exhausted to drive anymore. I pull over, I fall asleep for a couple of hours and the sun is coming up. And I had pulled over at a vista point. So when the sun was coming up, it was like hot pink, like orange, lavender on these like canyon walls, with ocean ridges, and it was like majestic again, awe-inspired feeling, and I was like, fuck it, I'm moving to New Orleans, like, I can't not, it was like the thing I needed to see was this great beauty. I needed to be moved by this great beauty to feel my spirit rise up and be like, you are strong enough, you are brave enough, and we're gonna do it. And so that was, yeah, another impactful moment. So wrapped some stuff up back home, was waiting for Margot, my middle niece, who some of you met recently, to be born. And she was born, held the baby, kissed my family, and I drove back to New Orleans. I had called the people at the art mansion. I was like, hey y'all, is there any I didn't say y'all then at that time. Hey you guys, is there any room at the art house? And they're like, yeah, we got a room for you. Like, they totally knew I was coming back, So then I moved to New Orleans
What was
in
it like?
2007.
What was that like when you stepped on the ground? You're like, this is my home now.
I'm sure I was totally dissociated part of the time, and I was, excited about it, but also, it is a really intense city for people who are prone to vices and who are really wild, which I had that, wildness that was like, ride this thing till the wheels come off, I have that energy. And so New Orleans was like what's the button you push, it speeds it up, fast forward. Like, let's just go all the way into vice and get it out of your system so you can have the rest of your life as a person who's healthy enough to be rich and full in your life.
And you were also at the same time discovering these sort of little healing opportunities, whether you realize it or not.
Oh yeah. Well, I discovered. So I was reading The Natural Awakenings. I was working at Fairgrind's coffee shop, and I didn't really have any money. I didn't really know. I was like into groovy stuff, but like I was certainly not in a position where I'd be like, oh yeah, a 3 or 4 day breathwork retreat. That's for me, But for whatever reason, I saw Jack Fontana and Paulette Lucas were doing a New Year's retreat. I really needed some support and connection at that time. As much as I might not have been able to recognize it, I needed healing at that time. And I went to that first retreat. I shit you not, had a scuffed up knee, some kind of rash on my face. I had been out brawling, and like I show up to this retreat. And no, Jack came to Fairgrinds to like get me registered, and that was when I met Jack for the very first time. So I felt like a fish out of water. I felt, the kind of worthlessness that you feel inside that makes you want to seek healing. That was like a bigger part of the pie than anything else that was on the surface. I had a thin shell with like a bunch of shame and suffering inside. And so then I did my very first breathwork session that first night at that retreat. And it completely changed my life. I felt like it was not some like, I have to have hope so I'll fucking make something up. It was genuine hope. And so then of course I ran away from it for like another year or so.
So Jack, what's your first memory of meeting Kate?
I think that fairgrounds going to get you registered for the retreat, and
And I was like, who's this godfather of breathwork guy?
she was like a fish out of water at the retreat, but it was absolutely the place where she was supposed to be.
And you felt that right away,
Mm-hmm.
because you guys have stayed friends since then.
Yeah, well, it didn't really start until about a year later.
Yeah.
Then she did the whole process.
And I was feeling things in those breathwork sessions that I not only did I not think those were for me, I didn't know they fucking existed. I didn't know I didn't know that states like that existed. But I mean, beyond friends and mentorship, I mean, Jack really is family at this point, for sure.
So this was where you sort of really began your breathwork journey with Jack, and Jack also suggested that you seek out transformations of Jim Morningstar.
Yep.
So this would be a good time to try activated breathing.
Yeah.
Because this was the first time you sort of did it with Jack. So we're gonna breathe right now. We're gonna do the activated breathing. Chris, I'm gonna need you to get your watch, set a timer for a minute.
All right.
We promised you 1 minute.
What?
So we were only gonna do 1 minute of this activated.
I don't want to keep everybody else from 2 minutes.
No. We want to do 1 minute. So we have.
There is a reason that I like doing 1 minute, and it's because of that moment of holy shit. That's a lot. That's wow. That's powerful, and it's 1 minute. So that when people say I don't really have time, I'm like nope.
So,
It ain't about not having time. Yeah.
So why don't you, Kate? Why don't you explain it real quick, and then when you're done explaining it, Chris is gonna say go, and we're gonna breathe for a minute, and then you'll say time when it's a minute.
It'll make a little beep, or I'll say time, either one.
How about you say time?
Okay.
So the basic mechanics of it are a full breath. And who has not done breath work here in this room? Okay, great. So my suggestion is go for it. Go for it. I know. Go for it. It's 1 minute. Go for it, because the ingredients of sincerity, fullness of the inhale, and relaxation on the exhale can really open up some energy in the body and just give you an idea about how powerful this process can be. So it's in and out through the relaxed and open mouth. We take a full inhale into the heart, and then we let it go. The exhale is much shorter than the inhale. I'm going to demonstrate for just 1 or 2 breaths, and then we'll begin. And in your body, you make the adjustments that you need to make to feel embedded in your vessel. Okay, so it's just for 1 minute. We ready to roll, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's go.
Taking everything you need on your inhale. Let it go. Allow your mind to be open and your breath to be full. Explore and keep your curiosity alive as you breathe. Relax anything that you can. It's not required for your posture. If your mind jumps in, come back to your breath. Come back to a nice warm welcome. Stay present in your body, feeling rather than thinking.
Stop.
Now take a pause. This is intimacy. The most intimate partner you will ever have in your whole entire life is with your body. It is often a relationship full of neglect, judgment, harshness, disconnection, and so on. But your inspiration, your intuitiveness, your instinct all lives in the body. And feel just the energy moving in your body. There's a touch happening. Your breath and your own energy is touching the cells of your body. There's intimacy and connection available right here in this trunk or core of your own body. I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb and say this activation, this energy that moves in the body, that bolsters our cells, that keeps us alive, that is a shared resource among all living beings on the planet, I'm just going to go ahead and, for the sake of time, we'll just call it a loving force, because it is tending to everything. It is sustaining life without question or exception. So that to me feels like it's loving. This energy, in my experience, reveals itself to be an unconditional source of love, a source of unconditional love. However, so we spend almost all of our energy, I would say, in one way or another, trying to find unconditional love in our circumstances and other people and in the outer world, within the collective consciousness about what life is, and so on. And it's a resource that we have already. So just take a moment to kind of bring your attention back to the room. When we live in a disembodied way, we are overwhelmed mentally and underwhelmed absolutely everywhere else. And that is a state of ego dominance that hyper-perpetuates depression and anxiety. It disconnects us from our deeper emotional experience, our deeper experience, period. The wisdom that's living in the cells of the body in the form of, the fun sciencey word for it now is the epigenetics, but we know this also from the ways of understanding the body that are much, much older than that, which is that we carry the lives and energies and wisdoms of those who've come before. And when we don't have access, we're talking again about the overculture's ego dominance. I think therefore I am, and like ping, 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 up here in the brain all the time, where it's like logic making chaos out of everything. But it really has that quality of just being like, well, flat, kind of. That mental way of being, when there's like so much more of ourself and our capacity and our ways of even navigating the world. So navigating the world from this like more binary state of like, well, what should I do? This logical state of awareness, without having our instinct, without having our intuition, without having our spidey senses, without having the full deck.
The aliveness.
Yes, playing with a full deck. So I say to bring it down to the pop culture language, which is a little bit more relatable, when we go mental, which is like spinning out up here, it has an energy to it, it's really not helpful. Going mental, we come back to our senses. And it's so already here, it is so not what the ego wants to hear, that we already have what we, but it is the thing that connects us to our capacity to be satisfied. When we lose our capacity to be satisfied, and there's always that hedonic treadmill, more, I'm like not quite ever getting there, it's because we don't have the capacity to be satisfied, because we are not present. We're not present in the wealth of who we are, which lives in from head to toe. The talking heads, It's like, it is beyond a tragedy that we have wealth that we constantly deny, because we live in a world where that's the predominant way of being.
And so you made a choice
Yeah.
to dedicate your life to teaching this.
Yeah. 2 moments. One, Cedar Valley residential retreat with Jim Morningstar. He happened to be right next to me, which was a real treat. He's a master, but those groups are big. And in that breathwork session, I had the image of like being passed a torch. And there's so many things, like words complicate it. It was an instant of knowing, but you have to use words and drag it out a little bit, which is that I knew that to choose this, I felt like the pleasure of dedication. I definitely feel like I'm choosing this, but in that same moment, it was like clear about not having children of my own, not having like, you know, there's all these other, you know, like thousands of as an underestimation of other lives of things that are fascinating and interesting and worth doing, that are creative, that are exciting, worth doing. And I'm like, to choose this was a huge relief and a huge honor. And I still get overwhelmed by all the glittery, beautiful ideas that are alive in this life to do. And there's 7 billion people on the planet to carry them out. Doesn't need to be me. And the second time it happened was not that long ago, and I was breathing with Jack. And I had been worried about like the shit that you worry about, right? Which is like your intimacy, your finances, your how is this all gonna work out? I'd gone mental, and I was working academically in breathwork for a while, which is like not to be done for too long. You go back into the wilderness and you get in the spirit of it again, and then you can go talk words to the people who need science language, and then you go back and you roll around in it. But I was breathing with Jack, and I felt massive release of fear and inspiration, and I felt safe. Like, I'm gonna pause right in that moment for a second, because like it's easy to skip over. I felt safe. And unless you have that feeling, we have no idea how unsafe we really feel walking around in the world. And to have that feeling of safety that was like, I belong innately, in this unquestionable sense of like, whatever happens to me, to my loved ones, to our country, there's a sense of safety and beauty available to me. So I get up out of that breathwork session and I say, Jack, I have no problem spending the rest of my life advocating for that feeling for everybody. And it was like, the Theravadamans, they take a vow that like includes all of these restrictions. You know, my life is not restricted, but we'll use this as an example. That's like, you don't eat after 3, you don't handle money, you live your life as close to the way that Buddha lived, or whatever. And so one of their questions, I hope I'm not making this up, but one of their questions, one of the questions that they're asked is, do the restrictions oppress you or liberate you? And for me, my dedication to this work liberates me completely. I know what I'm doing.
And it seems like,
I mean, with my life, not in I don't know what I'm doing in every way.
but now you're able to live all of those things you learned throughout your life. When you were in France, building a community, and learning with your Aunt Gail, now you have a community in your studio. And you've started to move beyond just breathwork. You offer different modalities of exploration, very much so when you were back in high school.
Yes, so the main one is ecstatic dance, which actually came to me. I had done it for years. I had this little class called the Radiant Shadow. It was freeform movement, improvisation, just to get into your body in a way that, you know, felt accessible and kind of poetic. I loved doing that class. And somebody in particular, David Nienstein, came to some of those, and then he invited me to lead a larger group of ecstatic dance that we're calling Animalia, and we partnered with the New Orleans Psychedelic Society. And I still consider this a little fringe to my life. It's deeply important, but in the way that breathwork isn't about like, I want to do breathwork all the time. It's like, I want to do everything that I'm doing with a sense of aliveness and compassion, a sense of presence. And so it's like that movement work has been really, really significant to me. It's where I started. But then I did all this breath work, and breath work was my focus, my education, my private practice. Everything that I did was really focused on that. And when I went back to doing movement work, it was a different animal. It was a totally different animal. But I would say Gabrielle Roth as a teacher completely bestowed wisdom beyond measure. Even if I couldn't like ingest it, digest it, understand it all at the time, like it's still revealing itself to me in the way that she presented and the energy that she had in her dedication and devotion as well, because she was very much like that too.
So what is the future hold for Kate Becker?
Okay. Well, there's like I think just right now in this moment, I'm thinking of like these two kinds of sides of it. One is the actual work of being involved and surrendering to the energy of my breath in my body. Like that's like being in the experience of breath work, holding space for others to do that, and movement and some other modalities too. But like doing that work, breathing with people, is like the community that we have developed, which is a really thriving community breathwork situation in New Orleans, which is fantastic. But the other side of it is breathwork education and advocacy work. So the International Breathwork Foundation is the oldest and most thorough or well-respected breathwork foundations or organizations on the planet. And they have an internal team of 8 people that kind of run it, but they're a hub of information. They're not a certifying body. That's the Global Professional Breathwork Alliance. But the IBF is like, it's where you go to find breathworkers who are certified. You look them up on the. It's where you go to get information about what is happening in the practice. It's the website that everybody went to during COVID. And we're like, well, shit. How do we breathe air and have it be therapeutic when everyone's terrified? So the IBF is a really, really fantastic organization. It's been around for more than 30 years. So in just a couple of months, I will be stepping onto that small team and working with them to support, organize, advocate for, educate. Did I say advocate? Yeah, for the field. So within that, there's like standards for training, which are like, we're not looking to homogenize breath work, right? But we are looking to like give some very strong ethical guidelines for what you need to know in order to practice this really powerful work. So
Demystifies it a little bit as well.
what's that?
Demystifies it.
You
a
would
little bit.
hope, you would wish, it doesn't. It doesn't, there's still this whole other, so like the Science and Research Department of the IBF, they are so great. They are the scientists of the International Breathwork Foundation, and they are like top tier scientific people, and there's so many things about breathwork that you cannot pin down in scientific understanding or vocabulary. There is a shamanistic, energetic element of it that science will take many years to catch up with, but that we know intuitively to be true. So the science and research aspect of it is really wonderful in a couple of ways. A, it gives people confidence to check it out because their value system is heavy on the science. So it kind of opens some doors when we can talk about the physiologically held traumatic situation in the body and how we can move that through this type of breathing. And when we can talk about immune system resilience and we can talk about vitality of the cells and things like that, it's important stuff. And it does open some doors and help create more spaces where people are practicing breathwork more mainstream. However, in a breathwork session, you never learn enough, know enough, understand enough, are on top of enough to not actively pray with that person who is breathing, that they greet and allow their fears and their energy to be reintegrated and to be processed in their body. It is energy work, and I say that unapologetically. And so like, on the one hand, we build credibility through the primary means that are most acceptable to our culture through the science. And then we also raise the credibility of the unseen, which is a very real part, undeniable part of our world, which is poetry, energy, inspiration, all of the things that connect us. Our humanity, it's invisible. Does it not exist? Absolutely not. The tide that lifts all boats. You know, when you get a wave of something and people believe in it, there is a revolutionary spirit that we can share, especially at this time on our planet, that is mystical. So the mind is logical, we're logic dominant. The body is mystical, it exceeds the sum of its parts, and it exceeds the sum of our understanding. So if we want a more mystical life, we have to admit that there's a whole bunch of stuff we don't know, get curious, get humble, and get into the body and into the breath, and start to discover.
You find your superpowers.
And then you are a superhero.
That's good. That's good.
So,
That was perfectly put.
I was gonna suggest right now, we're gonna do one more breathing exercise. This is gonna be the opposite of the connected conscious breathing. This is gonna be a relaxed breathing. We're gonna do it for 1 minute again. And you're gonna do just a short inhale and a very long exhale. And we're just gonna do it for a minute. Just
Put
take
this
it.
in your pocket. It is your doorway. It is your phone line. What is your direct access to your parasympathetic nervous system? And to extend the length of your exhale can really send the right signals to the vagus nerve that says, okay, we don't need stress hormones now, things are okay. So relax your belly. Notice if you have feelings about that. Relax your face. And just pause for a moment. Assess your state of being. Take a nice smooth inhale through the nose or through the mouth, doesn't matter. And exhale. Allow that exhale to be nice and long and luxurious. Inhale again through the nose. Imagine that you're meeting your whole desire for your inhale. And as you get up there with the inhale, you notice a mounting desire to exhale, and you turn and you meet that entire desire by exhaling the breath in your body. Inhaling through your nose or mouth. Exhale. So the inhale, this next one, imagine that it is nourishment and support. And that your exhale is release or freedom. These two basic qualities that a human being needs in order to be well. Support, nourishment, and also freedom and release. So on the inhale, take in everything you need. Extend the exhale nice and long. And then ignore everything I say and just tune into yourself. I drifted off. And now we have to process the trauma of the phone. No. I was focused. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. So, and really just a few minutes of, again, the ingredients, like the one thing that's really left out of the ingredients for these pocket practices, it's like, well, I was breathing and I activated my breath, or I was breathing and I slowed down my breath. But the thing that we forget to do is to do it sincerely. Do it with everything. Just do it. Go in like a naked toddler, it's, in fact, when we go in Daily Breathe, we have a whole arrival process, which is like, basically this is a metaphor, obviously, but it's the energy of this, which is like, you're standing in front of the temple door. You take your keys out of your pockets, you take your phone out of your pocket, you take all the other kind of shit you have in your pocket, you take your jacket off, you take extra layers off, you kick your shoes and everything off to the side. You might even drop down onto your knees. You bathe your face, you bathe your hands. And we go in through the temple door on our hands and knees. The humility, which is openness. Humility is openness. It's like, I don't have an opinion right now, I'm open. So humility and the sincerity to be fully present in your breath, which the ego goes nutso when we say be present. It says, oh, it's not worth it, and it has just about that much of credibility as well. Like that sound, it's like that's kind of how credible it is. We know this, yet we listen to it. So it's the sincerity, the fullness of your breath, a willingness to be present to it is so significant. It's like the open heart and the humble mind. And we know this from mindfulness work, that openness to the practice is really significant. And so if people have a hard time with the word devotion, I say practice devotionally. If that's hard, trust is a good word. People say trust in what? No. Trust, period, all by itself. Not in something. But the energy of trust is its own thing. You can feel it. What is the energy of trust? Like, here we are, living and doing, I'm gonna exaggerate it a little bit. Maybe it's not even that exaggerated. The energy of contraction, the energy of fear shows up in the posture of our body and then it perpetuates. What is the energy of trust? It looks and feels totally different. And it's like the posture of the body is often a doorway into like whatever state that we're in. So like checking it out. I call it find the noble shape. So when we're collapsed, when we're puffed up, when we're doing something with our attitude and with our life experience that we're like posturing in the body, we can fine tune it a little bit, which is like, can there be respect in the shape of my body? Can I feel that? Can there be alignment in the shape of my body? Can I feel that? And then the ways in which this is so are intuitively, you don't need to say anything about it. Like when the spine is aligned, there are receptors from the vagus nerve close to the skin and close to the spine that say things are all right. When your head is aligned, when it's cranked around, you're sending distress signals to your nervous system. And so then you get alarm bells that say something's wrong, especially when we're not getting enough oxygen. Especially then. Have I gone on too long? I really could. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Talking about, bring it all into your body, and you were talking about dance. What I thought it might be nice is to put on some music, and we can all stand up and feel what has happened in our bodies.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming, being a part of Lineages episode number 3. I want to thank Kelly Love Jones and Chris Webb for helping put all this together. We're going to play a little bit of music so we can just stand up and, help feel what we just, just what we talked about, what we experienced, and there's plenty more food if anybody needs to use the restroom or anything. And thank you all for
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
being here.
And thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so this is some music for ecstatic dancing. You might know, some people might know the song. There's
I love the
oh, yeah.
And then when they got with she's like, I wonder if I can get back to one thing a little bit like friendly way. Not like a assaultive way. You're like, okay.
No, I understand that. Yeah. Yeah, but it's different, like being in a space, not having so much. It's nice to see you outside. And then you begin to whoa.
I thought it was empty.
Definitely good for some more water.
That's right. Yeah.
So who's up next?
I'm not sure. Okay. No, this was.
When did the first two happen?
The first one happened